Hello, my crypto journey, the 444 plan to finding your way to relative initial and ongoing success. I don't say this is going to work perfectly for you. Like everything else, it has to be practiced. But as long as you live in a world where there are at least 4 weeks in a month and 4 days in that month that you can put serious work in, all you got to do on PeakD is find 4 decently paying communities and follow the steps that are involved here. 4 weeks in a month, 4 days that you can work in the month, and 4 decently paying communities of your choice. Now, this also will work on anything from Hive's predecessor Steam, Hive's sibling Blurt, Vocal, and Medium, which are USD monetized writing platforms. This will also work on many art platforms over time, depending on how you sell your art. Do you put it there and leave it, or do you interact with people on a regular? And then how prolific are you? So, but this will work out because, again, it's based on some very basic things. So let's go here. I need to give some credit to author Tim Ferriss of the 4 Hour Work Week, because even though when I read that in my 20s, my sister gave me that book. And of course, my sister is known online as Trekstar Sam. I've mentioned her videos before. Trekstar Sam. I'll put her video in the description. I think she was the one who gave me Tim Ferriss's The 4 Hour Work Week. And it didn't make that much sense to me in my 20s, but I read it twice, put it in a memory bank, and eventually it blossomed out. And I probably should mention Herman Cain and 999 also had a certain amount of influence on this, but that was not quite the same thing. The 444 plan goes as follows. Find 4 places on any particular platform subjects that you can work with. There are 4 weeks in the month, meaning that you have to hit, and there's a couple of extra days over. Give yourself some grace. Um, that you will be able to write in each of those once a week. And what you do in order to keep yourself from going crazy trying to do this is take 4 focused days of the month, do all this, and schedule it on PeakD. Now, if you're not on PeakD and you can't schedule, what you do is you just open a folder and you save stuff separately and you just hold on to it till you're ready to post it. So you're not constantly sitting here running back and forth with the computer. But in the meantime, in between time, you do need to, number one, pick places that are likely to pay you. And then second of all, get to know the people in those communities. Don't just come in there as a colonizer and a taker. You want to get into the habit of looking at interesting content, commenting on it, having conversations with people in the community, and showing a level of commitment. That's very important because, again, on PeakD, people have to choose. The Hive community has to choose how Hive is minted. And if nobody knows you and you drop and run and you don't even interact with the people that come onto your stuff, then people are going to take their vote somewhere else. Even big time curators notice this. And that's the first thing you need to do. Before you do this, don't post into the void. On PeakD, you need to first go to the communities page and find some good places to put your stuff. Now, your screen may be white because I have mine on night mode to spare my eyes. Yours may be a white background and black text, but they'll still basically look for this: Hive Mind Powered Communities. And these are communities that I follow, but then you have all communities down here in general. Okay? So we'll look at some of the ones that I actually follow to see what I'm talking about. When I say a good community, what am I talking about? Well, I have several up here. What you want to see are people that are active, and in a bear market, Hive has been bouncing around between 35 and 40 cents for a minute, and it looks like we're going to bounce between 32 and 35. So what does this mean? You want to find 4 communities where there are people who are still active in the bear, and you see rewards that are at least 3 figures. So before we do anything else, 551 subscribers, 53 active users, 177 interactions, and for the week, 183 HBDs and pending rewards. So average, people are making about a little over 3 HBD each. But this is actually the most important part. You want to know that there are people who are actively using this. Okay? Now, notice that you have a lot of high threes. High threes. a lot of high threes, and here's a low three. This is me, of course. But I chose to write about classical music, which is not always the highest level thing to do. But I wanted to write about one of my favorite songs about Brahms because it's very meaningful to me. But if you have other types of music that you enjoy, you could tell a story about how it's inspiring to you. Q inspired by music might be a good thing. Now, I have not always made that kind of low, because there are, if I would go down here, you'll find some high, you have some, I've had things closer to here, but you have some high threes, some mid threes. I'm not below the average. 53 users with 183 pending rewards. I'm not below the average. My choice of music, an obscure song by Brahms, unless you follow German Lieder, which I do. Um, Lieder. Get your mind out of the black manosphere gutter for a minute. Not that kind of leader. I'm not looking for a German man to lead me necessarily. German art songs. Um, I've chosen something obscure to write about. But if you're more into pop, if you have meaningful pop, gospel songs, hymns, things of that nature, you will do well here talking about how you are inspired by music. So this is one of my favorites. And as you see, plenty of active users, high threes, some fours, average 3.5 HPD per post on average. Okay, so we're going to go back to communities. We're going to pick 4. And then Hive open mic. I'm a musician. Have you kind of noticed I kind of skewed this way? This one is even higher. It has 4, and these people are here every single week. 4,000 subscribers, 208 active users, 1,592 interactions, a lot of comments in here, 1,090 pending rewards. And as you notice, you have some high threes and mid fours. Now, this was just here 5 hours ago. But then they do a weekly concert. So they're going to put out a live music event. They give you a prompt every single week. And then there's some very high there's some mid fours here. So we know that this is somewhere that's curated well and it pays out well and it rewards good work to the prompt. And again, you have some low threes, but you're not seeing a whole lot of posts that are more than a day old that have less than 3 or 4 on here. So we know this is a well-supported community. But also notice about this community, comments, lots and lots and lots and lots of interaction. You see that here. It's not the 208 users that put up 1,592 posts. It's that there's a lot of comments, there's a lot of support. 57 comments. So this is what I'm talking about. You don't just come in here and be like, oh, we make money in here. Let me drop some stuff in here. No, 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 no. That's going to get you killed. That's going to get you blown out of Hive very, very quick. It's going to get you very discouraged. Get into communities where you can find things and subjects and things that you enjoy. There's a lot of wonderful music in here. All right, that's 2. All right. Then let's look at something general. Gyms. I've been in here a long, long time. And gyms is really for things that don't really fit anywhere completely. And, please read the pin post about some misconceptions so you understand what's going on. But gyms is really for those, please read this as well, for those who really don't fit in anywhere else. There are a lot of people in here 297 active users, 714 interactions. Posts are a little bit lower if you look at the number of it's still that's a little under 3. Because look at the number of subscribers. So you have a lot of people in here who don't know where else to go yet. But again, as you start looking down here, it varies a little bit, but there's a 4. There's some 3-figure numbers, there's some mid threes and so forth. But you notice this is the lower paying community. There's not a lot of comments in here. Okay. All right. Y'all, I'll be right back. I'm making some tea. I'll be right back. Back. And you didn't see that I was gone for long, but I actually brew real tea, real ginger root. And also I have some wonderful tea from Confidence with Love, which of course I cannot find the little container that it goes with, but I will tell you about that later. Not this video, but we'll get into it later. 4 communities, 4 weeks of the month, 4 days to work per month. We are still working on communities. We found 3. Gems, just did that one. Q Inspired by Music, Stories about Music, and Hive Open Mic, for those of you who want to do music to a theme. And of course, these are my communities, not necessarily your communities, but I'm just going to show you what I look around in my set of 4 every month that I look at. Let me go back to sharing the screen because we're going to go back to communities. We're going to find a 4. All right. So, okay, another one that I had a lot of fun, even though I don't drink a lot of coffee, cinnamon cup coffee, but I'm not there as often. Let me give you my big one, Alien Art Hive. I am a fractal artist, and a lot of things I do don't always fit in this world. So I was very, very happy to come to this world where, for whatever reason, it's not completely loading up right now, curated content. But what I want you to see is 5,000 subscribers, 334 active users, 1,591 interactions, 2,588 pending rewards. Let me go over the post for a minute. And here we really do show off the art. There's some amazing art in here. And because there's truly amazing art in here, you see 3s and even high 4s. This has wonderful curation reports. You don't tend to see things that have been here less than, more than a day that have not been rewarded, because this has very, very good curation reports. So you have high curation reports in here in general. Low 3s as low as you can. And you know that the average should be around $5 because 334, a little under $4 and some change, because we've got 334 and we have 334 active users. No, wait, no. Active users versus pending rewards. Rewards should be around low 7s on average. So there's a lot of art in here. And I mean, there's a lot of art in here. I'm trying to find my latest and where it fits in. It might be on the curated content page. There's a lot of art in here. There's a lot of users here. But you have a great deal of art in here. Some of it is extremely beautiful. I just featured Tui Sada in Things Miss D Likes, which is one of the things that I do in a community called Loving Hive. And he wants to get featured again. I'm looking at this Tornado Among the Stars. He just put this up here. He calls it the Island of the Stars. He has a lot of very, very beautiful things. So it varies, but what we're looking at is active users. If you're into creating art that's a little bit out of the common way, this will be somewhere for you to come. And if you have a look at this, you see that there's a lot of things going on that allow you, and a lot of active users, there's a lot of interaction. Now, relative to the number of active users, because people are very focused, you can see this is actually the curation post. You can see some of the very best art that's in here, and there's a lot of comments. But there are definitely more people producing art, but then you've got 40 comments coming here. Again, interaction, comments are very, very important. All right, so let's say that you're not into the things I'm into. All right, that's fine. What we want to do is we want to go back to, under the communities that I follow, natural medicine is in here too. Sketchbook is for everyday art. The minimalist I go to from time to time. Not all of these are what you call high rolling, high producers. Free writers I love because I get to write every day and I love it. And it's not always not highly rewarded, but I'm just there. Basically pick things you're into, but if you're coming in and you don't want to be discouraged, you do need to kind of have a plan. On-chain art, massive, massive, massive art community also. Very varied art, 7,000 subscribers. But if you notice, fewer active users, fewer pending rewards. Big, 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 big subscriber base though. And really this has to do with art that takes longer to create in general. People are showing digital art, people are showing their painting, and they're not doing badly actually. They're not doing badly either. Fewer rewards, but they're not doing badly. It's just piled up in one particular, it's piled up pretty, it's a little bit top heavy. And as you see, these have a little age on them. They didn't do badly though. So if you do paintings, things like that, you might want to go to on-chain art. Now, let's go to all communities. If you are someone who is like me, who remembers to do this on a Wednesday, I usually don't. But if you are a photographer and you remember to take a photograph of where you are walking, 268 active users, 1,279 interactions, and 1,027 pending rewards. Not bad. If you are a photographer and you just have your smartphone, this is somewhere where you can come in here and turn what you see around you into monetization and share with the community. And again, interactions, go ahead and realize you got to also pay attention to what other people are doing. But let's say you're a real photographer, okay? Then what you probably going to want to do, of course, I'm not going to be able to find it. I'm going to have to put in here by name. You also can search for communities. Excuse me. I'm simmering ginger, and ginger don't play with you. Allergies just draining. Photography communities. You might want to look around in here. Sunset photography. Like I said, if I would think about it, but then let's say that you're into food. Okay, maybe not this one. This one's kind of low. They're not totally without good rewards, but they're just kind of low, and there's a lot of Germans in here. So if you speak German, could be a good place to go. And actually, for that matter, I speak German. I should be in there. But let's go to one that I know is a little bit better attended. If you're on vacation, actually, I bombed out again on this one. 258 subscribers and only 3 active users and 3 interactions. And no. Although over time it used, well, I mean, there's a bear market, but I can tell you where the attention is probably going. A lot of the there's a lot of photography, but a lot of the information, a lot of the activities going in here. Photography lovers. And if you look at the number of rewards, you can tell why that is. Now, it is a little bit uneven because a lot of people come in here and these are early. But as you continue to go down here and look through, even within 5-7 hours sometimes, you start seeing 4 digits, mid threes. But without you having to look down in there, this is what I want you to look at. 540 interactive interactors, almost 3,000 rewards, average about $6 per 6 HBD, I should say, Hive back dollars. And there's a lot of interaction here compared to the number of subscribers. This is a busy community. This is where you're going to begin to really meet people. This has very strong curation support. This is a curator who's also over at Alien Art Hive. I know him quite well. He stays on his job. And by the way, this is all bear market numbers. This is with Hive at 35 cents. Imagine what it was when Hive was at $3. Let's say that you really are into cooking, okay? So let me go on over there. Big communities around food. Foodie's Beehive is number 1. You love to photograph your favorite food. Now, per person, the rewards are not that high because there's almost there's three and a little change interaction, not that high. There's a lot of people in here doing a lot of food photographs, and the limitations sometimes for food can sometimes be because we can't eat it. So you really have to be good at presenting it and telling a story about it. But you know what also would help? Probably people don't come and read the pinned post. Read the pinned post. That'll help you. There's a lot of beautiful food in here. And again, some of these are only a few hours old too. So we have to kind of go down a little bit more and we find, yes, we have some low 4s, we have some mid 3s, and some mid 3s coming up. So we do have some of the things we look for in here. And there's more food communities than this one. The point I'm trying to make to you is where I want you to go is to go to the community page. If you don't want to look through this one by one, use the search box to find out what you're interested in. You can take some of the ones I'm looking at, or you can just put in there and find them. Look for things with plenty of active users, plenty of interactions, plenty of comments, and be ready to come being curious about the people that you are coming into their community and making yourself at home like a good neighbor. Now, with those of you that are doing art and photography, the Hive Minimum standard is, and by the way, there's nutritious food, and then I should say there's amazing Amazing comes up with two things. Amazing Drinks is about beverages, which is very, very high. It's not hugely high, but it has active people in it. This came out of one of the food communities, and it's a little bit younger than some of the others. But if you look around, they've got some mid fives, some mid fours, some mid threes, and some high four figures here. So it does qualify. It's just a little bit smaller because it's newer. But if you are into the world of beverages instead of food, but the other thing I wanted you to see there was Amazing Nature. Amazing Nature is another great photography about nature. Nature photography. So if you're really into walking around the outside and you have a really good macro camera, you can do extremely well with this. Um, a lot of low threes. The average here actually is not fantastic. Again, they're kind of new too. Um, but you do see some lower threes and still some very beautiful things. And then you find your high fours, your low fours coming in here as well. So they're a little bit newer too, but you have a high three. There are some of the most beautiful photography on the chain is here. And if you are truly a lover of nature and photography and you love natural things, come here. It's not the highest paid, but it might make you the most happy. There's a lot to look around at. But then again, I would say active users and interactions. You need to see nice numbers, nice ratios with that. If you have that and you can get to know the people there, you can comment and tell them what you loved and take inspiration. You could also look at what people are doing well and use it as a model. So pick 4 communities. The page, not that page, that's chain news, and that's a whole different set of issues. We'll talk about making sure that you read that at a future time. What you want to do, go back to the main community page. You won't have any subscriptions. You're just going to get featured communities in all communities and find things that interest you and find communities that are relatively have high interaction and relatively well paid. Pick 4. There are 4 weeks in a month, which means what you're planning to do is to make one post in each of your 4 communities. 3 Speak, Cast Garden, and is there another video front end? There's at least 2 video front ends to substitute for YouTube also. Just going here for a minute. This is all videos. Again, relative, it's not new, but still not as used as it could be because people are so stuck on YouTube. But you can use these videos, it's just very recent. You can use these videos to illustrate your post as well. You make your video, you put it into your post. Not great. 3Speak has its own front end. Although again, it does pop up from time to time. You see something with 16s and so it does happen. It's just not as huge as some of the other ones. But you see as you click on them, you see that well-made video does do well sometimes. Not as often. They have their own front end where you actually go look at their stuff. 3Speak IO, I think it is. But this is the video. If you're really into doing video blogging, you also can come over to 3Speak. And anybody who's into that, I'll show you their front end. It might be better to just do it through there. But this is their page on PeakD. All right. Now that you have your 4 communities, what are you about to do about that? Look here. See how it says view schedule post? So, well, actually, let me go do this. While we're waiting for that to load, let me go here. Okay. Let's take Alien Archive and Q inspired by music. And there's things Miss D likes in drafts. So this is my Friday post that I'm building right now. I don't have everything I'm going to get on Friday, but I have it in drafts and I add posts to it as the week goes on. That's in Loving Hive, which is a growing community for people that love Hive. So it's a good fit there. This is for Alien Archive. I have 1, 2, 3, 3, 3.5. I actually already posted that. Why have I not deleted? I have 3 in drafts. And then when we get our scheduled post to load, you'll find out something else that's interesting. How far ahead am I already taking care of an Alien Archive? When it loads, we'll see it. I just published too, so I don't have as many in here as I would. Come on. Don't you hate it when stuff gives you a little spinning ball? Here we go. This is tomorrow for Q Inspired. This is tomorrow for Q Inspired. This is Alien Art Hive. This is Alien Art Hive. So I have 2 scheduled and I have 3 in drafts. So what am I doing? I am working ahead. And the reason I can work ahead is because I'm able to schedule my post. And I'm able to work with 2 communities at a time. This is the finish of May. And this is into June. And the whole month of June is already figured out. I'm done with that. Okay, where do the 4 days come in? You don't think that I come in, now that you know that I schedule, you don't think that I come in every day and do all this, do you? Do you think I came in every single day of the week and did the 12 posts that are represented here? I guarantee you I did not. I picked a few days a month. Now, I do write my free writes every day, only 5 minutes, and I usually put a little bit more time in that. But I use my time by batching up my work. I batch up my work so that I only spend 4 or 5 days on 3 of those communities, putting the things together I want to do for a month so I can enjoy my life. You want to use the tools that are available. And this is why I'm saying to you, the 444 plan. Now, Hive's minimum, if you're into art and photography, is you need to do at least 200 words. The Hive sweet spot is close to the minimum on, let's say, vocal or medium. You need 600 words. And I know on vocal, you need rich media, which means you're going to have images and video attached. Don't put that pressure on yourself, start out. I want you to pick 4 communities and pick a day to work on each one. And you do 4 posts of a minimum of 200 words and find a nice photo. Now, if you're not going to use your own images, we need to sit down and talk about where you're going to get your images so you don't get slammed for plagiarism. But at a minimum, this is why I gave you things like photography and music to start with. So you use your own thing. And you sit down and you plan it out. You take 4 days a week to put your work together. You plan to put that in 4 well-paid communities that you're going to spend some time when you're not writing, interacting with other people. And you do this with 4 communities and you posting them once a week because you're going to take 4 days to write 4 posts for 4 communities for the 4 weeks of the month. This gives you, well, let's say you only have time to write 3. That's still fine. If you have 8 to 12 posts in well-positioned communities and you do your work and make sure the community knows you and you produce quality work, there is very little chance that over time you will not be able to build a reasonable income. It's not going to be enough to pay your bills if you live in the United States. But again, we talked about in a previous video, Hive back dollars, every time you get something on Hive, that goes to work for you. Your Hive power, which comes to you staked up, sits there and gets 3% interest from the day it arrives. The HBD that you get, you put that as savings, you get 23%, 20%, meaning that everything you receive in Hive can immediately put it to work for you for 23% interest in total. So every dollar is essentially $1.23. Where else can you do that? And then you can trade that out for Bitcoin. Now I have to do a video about how that has become more complicated because the US is really not wanting us having access to these markets. It has become more complicated. So I've had to put together a new off ramp to be able to get my Hive and HBD into something that to Bitcoin that I can then put somewhere else. It's a more that's probably the next video. It's a little bit more complicated than it was. But the point is, this is your sweat equity on ramp. If you have a cell phone and can take some different decent pictures, if you are bold enough to do some singing of your favorite songs, if you're bold enough to write about why is the song meaningful for you, if you love food and can learn how to photograph it well and can read the pinned post and figure out how best to do in these communities. Look at the models that are available. You take 4 days a week, you write 8 to 16 posts, 8 if you write 2 per community. You don't even have to do all that yet. You don't have to start hitting the ball that hard. You don't have to try to do things that I have now done after 4 years of doing this. 444 could be 4 weeks, 4 days, 4 posts. I have basically set you up on 4 weeks, 4 days, 4 posts per community. 4 weeks, 4 days, 4 communities in which you'll put 4 posts over the course of those 4 weeks. But you could just as easily be, you get your feet wet. 4 communities, 4 weeks, and on each of those 4 days, you write one of those posts. Fine. You can write 2 posts per community per month. You can write 3 posts per community per month. You could write 4. You could be crazy like me and look at, oh, there's 5 Mondays, 5 Tuesdays, and 5 Wednesdays, and I would like to make just a little bit more. So let me try to bulk up on the week before. You don't have to be crazy like me, though. I've been grinding hard to these bears. This is my second bear. You don't have to get your feet wet like that. I offer you the 4-4-4 plan based on 4 days, find 4 well-supported communities, 4 weeks of the month. Take 4 days and write a post per week for each of those communities and schedule them up. So it's June. So you would start planning for July so you don't stress yourself out. So what do? In June, you research. You research. You might want to do a post or two to kind of get your feet wet. You see what the response is to what you bring to the table. Do 2 or 3 posts and see what the best response is. And then the next month you sit down and you do your post and you do 4 and you do 1 per week and you see what happens. And you get into this habit now. Why am I telling you this in a bear market? Because by the time a bull market comes along, remember what I told you Hive was? If you learn how to operate in community in a bear market, you already have things working for you at 23% by the time Hive makes it back to the bull. You have people that love and read your stuff. And someday those votes will be worth 9 times what they are today. So the relationships that you cultivate now will be worth 9 times what they are today. If you were paying attention, perhaps you paid attention to the little blue square that was at the bottom of the screen that was showing up there and how much I have to claim in rewards. And if you remember, again, those are actually HBD. So they're not going to multiply up. But if people were voting on me at the same level during the top of the bull, multiply the number by 9. I want you to be ready. Imagine if Hive goes to $4 or $5 and you already have yours in place. Now, again, there's a couple of things you got to know about the crypto world before you can work all this out. But getting into the habit of being regular, getting into the habit of being regularly on other people's posts and crediting them for the good work that they do and building relationships, that's going to be it's worth a lot now to be in a relatively drama-free environment and be able to work and build up your creativity and be able to learn how to work in a structured, regular way is valuable to you now because you can take this and go to other writing platforms and the same plan will work. But you are working toward a future that will be much more profitable than the present day. And that's why I'm doing a video on the 4-4-4 plan now. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Thank you for listening. And have a good day. I'll be back. I've got to talk about, okay, we're going to get all this money together. We're going to be doing all this sweat equity. How are we going to get our money out? Well, I got to answer that question for you before we get into the bull so you can kind of begin to practice that. When you put the 4-4-4 plan in order and you get ready to take your first money out, then you need to be able to practice how this works so that when Hive goes up to 3, 4, 5, you're not sitting up here like, but Miss D, what do I do? I gotta get my money. No, we're not doing any of that. We'll have that in a future video. And all you do is save it and wait. All right, you have a good day now. Goodbye. Thank you for listening.